Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Drunk Bible Study, the bonus edition. This is for episode 110. So we had a little bit of a continuation of Bathsheba. Her son died, and then she had another one, like just out of the blue, and it's Solomon, and everyone's happy, and we're good. And then, unfortunately, we had this really sad story about Tamar, who is not the first Tamar in the Bible. But this is a Tamar who had a very complicated and like tragic story. And there is another Tamar in the Bible that we met all the way back in Genesis, if you remember, because I didn't remember. So I had to have a little bit of a refresher about that Tamar. So I'm just going to like talk about both Tamars real quick. So Tamar 1. Tamar,
boy, we're back on this naming convention.
I don't know. Okay. There's no specific naming convention, but we're going to call Genesis Tamar 1, and then 2 Samuel Tamar A. So Tamar 1 was, okay. So Jacob's son Judah had 3 sons, Er, Onan, and Shelah. A woman named Tamar married Er, but then Er died, leaving her a widow. Since it was required that the next of kin care for a brother's widow, Tamar was given to Onan, but he also died.
Yes, the Onanism. Yes, hence the justification for why you can't mastrubate.
Okay, yes.
Oh, he was the one who spilled his seed. I forgot about that.
Yeah, right. Yikes. So, Shelah was still a boy and could not marry Tamar, so Judah asked her to return to her father's house and wait until Shelah was grown up. However, once Shelah was old enough, Judah did not honor his promise. Tamar remained an unmarried widow. Tamar then went into the town disguised as a prostitute, tricked Judah, and got him to sleep with her. She then became pregnant by Judah and bore twin sons named Perez Hilton and Zerah.
Right.
The story is recounted in Genesis 38.
Man,
so,
Genesis days. Feels like a long time ago.
It
really
was
does.
a long time ago. That was over a year ago, right?
Ages.
Like 2 years ago? It's ridiculous.
Almost.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, okay, so that happened. And then this Tamar, this Tamar, we heard this tragic, sad story. And yeah, I guess, let's see, David was angry, but he did not punish him on or require him to marry Tamar, so Absalom took it upon himself to marry Amnon in revenge. Absalom's anger and bitterness towards his father because of these events eventually led to his attempt to usurp the throne.
Spoilers. Gosh, Emily.
Oh, boy.
That's what you get when you're just reading. Yeah.
Maybe just cut that out. I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, these are 2 like bitter, sad stories of like bitterness and unhappiness surrounding things, but
sure.
I guess there is going to be a third Tamar.
Oh boy.
Tamar Alpha.
Yeah, sure, Tamar Alpha in Samuel 14, in 2 Samuel 14. So it's coming up like probably next episode, but I'm not going to talk about this person because they're
coming up
yet.
Soon. A different Tamar. Already.
A different Tamar already.
I
in
assumed it was going to be several books from
now.
Wow.
It's not. It's in frickin' 2 Samuel 14.
Gosh.
So,
that'll be next episode. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. Boy.
So that's the only like non-tragic Tamar, but also that Tamar rather, is going to be spoken of like one time, like real hot second.
Okay.
So
the new one or the current one or the
new
older one?
The one to come, the future Tamar.
Tamar
Tamar
Alpha.
to be.
Tamar Alpha.
It's just going to be a quick name drop. Just a name drop and then done.
Tomorrow's Tamara.
Yeah. Tomorrow's Tamara. So yeah, tragic story, tragic figure. It just like yet another rendition of like women being just like used and abused and cast out in the Bible. There's only like a few women who really have their kind of like comeuppance or have like big deals in the Bible, and we come back to them again. And usually they're the wives of kings.
Yeah, a lot of them kind of just get discarded like trash.
Yeah, oh, for sure. The only other thing that I looked up was about a talent, what it is. And my mother actually said this because she probably looked up the exact same thing that I did. And it's 33 kilograms, which is around 72 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. You're not going to be putting this on your head.
Is it? Yeah. Do you think it was hyperbole? Was it like when we say this thing weighs a ton? We don't actually literally mean it weighs a ton.
Or did it just become like a tall tale?
Right.
You know,
yeah.
about how heavy this freaking crown was. I still want us to do our possibly dangerous physical challenge.
Right. We just need to find something in this house that weighs 70 pounds.
Jeez.
Gosh,
yeah. Well, and it says that the weight could be in gold, silver, or even copper. So that's interesting, because I thought it was just gold, but no, it could be any of these things.
No,
so maybe it was
in the
like
Bible, they specifically refer to talents of silver.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's like a shekel. Like a shekel is a measure of weight, not an amount of currency.
Okay,
so you can
but
have a shekel of silver or a shekel of gold or a shekel of bronze or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Although, thinking about it, again, this is going to be way in the future. This is like a parable that Jesus tells about the talents, the servants and the talents. I don't know if you remember this, Jace.
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
I certainly don't.
But now knowing that a talent weighs 70 pounds, that really changes the way I think about that story.
That's a good point.
Because, again, you'll forget about it by the time we get there, Emily,
Let's
I'm
hope
sure.
So. Okay.
You know, the way the story is told, they make it sound like it's just like a bag of coins or a couple of coins. And to think about it being these big chunks of metal that are like 70 pounds.
Yeah,
that's
it's
nuts.
not like a little thing, yeah.
Or is it a bunch of shekels that weigh up into one talent?
Could be, yeah.
I mean, more manageable, but still quite a lot of volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you can
interesting.
just stick in your pocket. You can't have 70 pounds of silver in your pocket.
Jeez.
So something that I looked up for this was, this is actually from a little bit ago, and this was the name Ishbosheth that we had a lot of fun with saying or not saying.
You enjoyed this name a lot.
I enjoyed you trying to say this name a lot.
Ishbosheth.
Is specifically what happened. But yes.
I can say it now.
I actually want to give a quick shout out to one of the members of our Drunk Bible Study Fans and Fellowship Facebook group, John Michael, who was the one who pointed this out to me, and then I did a little bit more research on this.
Oh.
And that's that the part of that name Bosheth has also, we've seen it before in Ishbosheth. And what Bosheth means is shame. And essentially what it is that the Hebrew scribes who were writing these names down would write down someone's name as whatever Bosheth or Bosheth whatever, because they were avoiding
Bosheth whatever.
They were avoiding writing the name Baal for the god Baal. Yeah. So actually Ishbosheth's name was probably Ishbaal. And that actually, where was the one? And that Mephibosheth was actually probably named Meribaal. So like, which means something about Baal. And then they changed it to Mephibosheth because like, they're like, ooh, I don't even want to write down the name of Baal. It's like, who shall not be named.
It's like Voldemort or something.
So why are all these kids being named after Baal?
I'm glad you asked, because that was also very fascinating to learn about. So, okay, here's some things I learned. First of all, I learned that on Google Books, there are a number of these dictionaries of the Holy Bible that are from like the early 1800s that are there in their full text because they're in the public domain, scanned in from libraries and stuff. And I found a bunch of fascinating stuff. You can search through them. It's amazing, and it's free, and it's great. So, okay, here's some things I learned. First thing I learned, which I didn't know, was that Baal is not necessarily always one god, that it actually may have been a name that was given to just a lot of the male-presenting gods of the time, similar
Does
to
that make sense?
Ashtaroth potentially meant a variety of female gods. However, there are instances where Baal is also female and Ashtaroth is also male, so that's not a hard and fast rule.
Whoa.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
There's also a plural form of the name Baal, which is Baalim, and that kind of further goes to emphasize the fact that there were many Baals, potentially. And so then Baal was... perhaps maybe later became one specific deity instead of just being a generic descriptor. I'm not quite sure about that. But what's interesting that I learned is that essentially it's like early on when we learn about Baal and like that he's a bad guy, a bad god,
Yeah.
he was being worshipped by Israelites at the time. Like part of their tribe worshipped him.
Oh, really?
And part of their tribe also worshipped Yahweh, and part
So there had to
worshipped
be like an
Ashtaroth.
anti-Baal PR campaign.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, I feel like we kind of discovered this
Right.
and thought at least like this is what was going on here.
Right. So, okay. So let me read you this section here. So this says, this is from a pocket dictionary of the Holy Bible from 1828. So this says on this long section on Baal, there's a part that says that the Moabites, again, they're back, the Moabites had begun their worship of Baal before the days of Moses. So way before Yahweh even entered their world. And the Hebrews began worshiping Baal during the time of Moses. So they relapsed into that idolatry after the death of Joshua and under the judges Ehud, Gideon, and Jephthah. We remember them. Samuel seems to have quite abolished the worship of this idol from Israel, but about 200 years afterwards, so this is now spoiler territory, but 200 years afterward, Ahab and Jezebel reimported Baal from Zidon.
That's some spoilers there.
Yeah, and that a large number of priests were appointed to attend to the service of Baal from within Israel, as well as also for Ashtaroth. So basically, I always had this sense that like once the Israelites became the Israelites, they were always all Yahweh all the time.
Yeah.
But no. Actually,
no?
They've gone through many periods of also worshiping Ashtaroth and also
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of cities and people that are named after Baal because they were probably worshiping him at the time.
Huh.
So
Makes
the
more sense now.
fact that Jonathan, Saul's son, named his kid Meribaal.
Well, and so did Saul, because Ishbosheth was his other son.
Right. So sorry, that's what I mean. So Saul named his son Ishbaal after
Ishbaal.
Baal, and then
And
his
then
son
Jonathan.
Jonathan named his son
Yeah.
Meribaal. I suppose in the narrative also goes to show why Yahweh didn't like Saul, that he also
Yes.
liked other gods enough to name children after them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And we've seen some before. And
Yes,
I'm trying
we
to
have.
remember, like Jerubbaal.
Yeah, Jerubbaal.
Yes.
My friend
Jerubbaal
Jerubbaal.
is named after Baal.
Yeah, of
and
course.
that in some versions of scriptures, his name is written as Jerubosheth.
Oh.
Again, to censor
Wow.
out Baal and
Fascinating.
write Bosheth instead.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was a super fascinating rabbit hole to
Yeah.
go down with all of that. Yeah.
Fascinating. Geez.
It's
Yeah.
almost like these people are just like not cut out for monotheism.
Yeah, they just keep going back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going back to that X.
You
Right.
know, I'm laughing on the inside. It's, our like just a gentle nudge towards our other podcast there.
Yeah.
So I realized that we have not yet cast Bathsheba.
We haven't cast a lot of people, but yeah, Bathsheba's a big damn deal.
Yeah, she at the
Yeah.
very least we need to cast her.
Yes.
Yes. So, Dedeker, while you were preparing for this bonus episode, Emily and I conferred about this, and I think we've landed on the perfect person, and that is Denai Guerrera, who
Yeah.
she's
Excuse me?
the one who's the like captain of the army in Black Panther.
Oh,
She's awesome. She
She's
was
awesome.
in Yeah, she also did a stint on The Walking Dead for a long time, so she's been in quite a few things.
Yeah, and she
it's
shows
a
up
big deal.
as that same character from Black Panther in Infinity War and Endgame as well.
Yes.
And since the Avengers universe is part of our universe on Drunk Bible Study, she's a perfect fit. And something I really like about it is in reading about Bathsheba, the character, and like what she's all about while we were trying to cast this. The thing is that in all the stories about Bathsheba, and we're going to get her for a while, she's going to come back in Kings. And
oh, wow.
yeah, is that not a lot of description is given to her motivations or what she's thinking or feeling about any of these things. And so interpretations of her go the whole range from her being this innocent victim who's widowed and forced to marry David to the seductress who's seducing David and is involved in this. And then later, I don't want to give spoilers, but there's a similar thing of like, is she just a pawn of other men who are trying to do political maneuvering? Or is she an active participant in usurping the rule? Or is she an active participant in making sure that David's wishes are honored? And it's, we don't quite know. And I just think that Danai Gurira would add some really interesting dynamic to that character.
Yeah.
All right. I could see it.
Right. Of being able to interpret sort of where in between all those things she lies.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you've convinced me. Put it in the
Okay.
document. So
I
shall it
love
be written.
it.
So shall it be done. Put
I've
it on
already
IMDb.
put it in our document. It's on IMDb for I just looked at the title of our movie again recently, and it's,
Oh gosh, what is it?
do you remember what it was?
No. What is it?
All right, it is. I have it here down at the bottom. Pokemon Sword and Shield, be excellent to each other. Yahweh says so. Is the subtitle. So it's Drunk
Oh,
Bible
okay.
Study : the movie semicolon Pokemon Sword and Shield, comma, be excellent to each other, Yahweh
We
says
can
so.
we can probably strike the Pokemon Sword and Shield just because that was really funny at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right
that's
when
true.
Sword and Shield came out, and now it's less funny and less topical.
They are
And
making
Yahweh
a new
said-
Bill and Ted movie, so the be excellent to each other should stay for sure.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Even though Yahweh doesn't really say that to anyone ever. Ever. Maybe Jesus does, but I haven't gotten there yet, so
Yeah, that was kind of Jesus's main thing, was be excellent to each other. So
yeah. That's nice. Good for him.
I wonder if that's because Bill and Ted traveled back in time and met Jesus, and then
Did they?
I mean that
They
did happen
seeded
in
it.
Bill and Ted 2, I think. But that then he sort of stole that idea from them.
I see. Cool.
Okay.
Love it. Alrighty. Well, we have cast people. We have talked about, multiple to Mars and some cool name.
Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of stuff. We hope that you enjoyed this, and we will see you next week for Drunk Bible Study 111. 111.